Perfect. Welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic and its community. I am Bobby, also known as Blazin' Bob, and joining me, as always, we have Mel, aka Melorita. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good.
You always sell that so well.
I know.
We also have first time on the show, Fabulous. How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Awesome.
Can't believe you brought him on, Bob.
For anybody that
Worst mistake of your life.
doesn't know Fabulous, he's one of the tanks in our guild, and he plays Prot Paladin, and he's pretty knowledgeable about the game, and he's pretty well spoken and talkative. So I've been wanting to have him on, and so he's on now. So yeah, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We also have, returning to the show, SubtleFW for the win. How you doing, Subtle?
Hey, doing great. Really glad to be back.
Always glad to have you. You're always so soft-spoken, but you look like you could throw someone across the room.
It's a fine balance.
That's good stuff. All right, guys, I'll go through what we're going to talk about on the show right after I start the show by saying we stream the show live on twitch.tv/BlazinBob. That's BLAZZINBOB. Also like to thank our tank patrons in Thick Lizzie and Croxford. Always want to remind you that if you're needing a leveling guide for retail or classic, you should check out Rested XP. Use code RELOADED. I know retail kind of walks you through everything, but this is going to be the fastest speed-wise getting to max level. So check it out, code RELOADED. We're going to go through, we got one new voicemail, one new review, one new email. We'll talk a little bit about what we've been doing. Then we've got very little news. We'll talk a little bit about Dragonflight, if anybody played it. Talk a real short thing about the PTR. And then we're going to end the episode with Prot Pally 101, or Prot Pally for Dummies. I can't decide which to call it, but it's going to be something that'll help new Prot Pallies know what to do and feel comfortable going into their first heroics or raids. And so, yep.
Actually, I just have a new prop pally, and I just wanted to bring people on to ask questions.
Yeah, that's
has nothing to do with it.
With great power,
that's the only reason. That's the only reason I'm here.
No, let it go on the record. I did not choose to invite Fab. I'm just kidding.
I think she would threaten Yip with it. Whenever she wanted to get what she wanted, she'd be like, all right, Yip, well, then we're going to bring on Fabulous if, don't do this.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's good stuff. All right, well, let's do the voicemail first. Real quick here. He sent two, but I'm going to use his second one because he basically said he did a second draft. This seems to be quite common for a lot of people that call it like, hey, should use this one? So we're going to go with his second one.
Hey, Mel and Bob. Just want to give you guys another call. The classic. I don't like the first draft, so I'm calling back and leaving a second one. What would we be without a shitty first draft? But anyways, just kind of want to ask a quick question and give you guys my thanks because you guys and your content in general is just so welcoming and so beginner friendly and happy and just joyous. Really been helping me a lot with a lot of my own financial and just kind of stressful shit I'm going through right now, especially with college and everything going on. But just wanted to say thank you for all of that. You guys really do a good job at community building and just vibes in general. But anyways, my question is just kind of like, we kind of have three separate groupings of content in the game, whether that be dungeons or, raiding and PvP stuff. I just kind of want to hear your thoughts on what would be your favorite kind of healing /tank/DPS class to see, or is the most satisfying for you guys to play in each of those kind of categories. I'm a DPS main on Grobulus. I play primarily PvP, but it's always fun for me to play Rogue in PvP like everyone else, but it's way more fun for me to play like Enhancement Shaman and raiding and stuff. But I'm a quirky one. But anyways, thank you guys so much.
Okay, so
thank you.
Yeah, so I think his question was, what do you like to play tank, heals, or DPS in PvP and in PvE? But I think his main question was PvP, right?
I think he was saying, does it differ, right? Like, do you like to play the same class in PvP, PvE, dungeons, raiding, all of that?
I actually have like a pretty intricate answer. Does anybody else want to go first, though?
I like.
I mean, mine's pretty simple. I like playing Prop Pally at PvE and Rogue in PvP.
I've heard
Prop
Pally is really fun.
He's already got a Rogue
too.
So.
I just don't really PvP much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't PvP'd much in Wrath, but I can tell you, so I definitely enjoy, if I'm in a solo queue, the most enjoyable thing that I've played that I've had at max level is definitely Rogue. Rogue, if I'm solo play, I feel like I could do so much more, have so much personal
PvE?
PvP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, so if I'm solo queuing in PvP, like, I feel like I can do so much more solo. Like, I can really hold someone off a flag, like just really stun locking them and just messing with them, even with low gear, right?
Yeah.
I just feel like I can stealth cap things. I could do a lot there that doesn't require having a team to support me. But then if we're going to queue with a group and we've got at least 2 healers, I'm like, and I've got a geared arms warrior. Oh man, I want to go arms warrior for days and just blow shit up. Like, that's so much fun. And then if like we're queuing with a group and there's no healer, like I really enjoy Discipline Priest healing in BGs. I think it's like really, really fun because everybody's got their own cooldowns to save them, and you've got Renew and Bubble, and it's just like it goes so far. And then you're also pretty dang hard to kill. And so at least I know right now with the current resilience ratings, everybody's talking about how the priest just kind of falls over, but that'll change as the expansion goes on. But those are kind of mine. And then PvE, I've been doing a little bit of everything. So, I don't have a lot of experience yet. I've just been tanking in Nax and DPSing in Nax. I still haven't done a raid on my Discipline Priest. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised you haven't gotten recruited on your priest. Everybody's looking for that Resuvius mind control right now. Super easy to get a spot.
I mean, I was about to say at this point, I think if guilds don't have that, I'd be kind of concerned. It's been 2 months now?
Yeah. But
sometimes I'm
like,
talking like SR pugs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's what I'm getting ready to do. I've got my gear score up to like 3,600. Like, I'm probably going to jump in some 10-mans during the day, GDKPs or something like that. But I've healed a ton of heroics, but I still need to tweak my raid frames a bit. And I'm just, it's my 3rd character. I'm not super worried about it. I try to make sure that I have everything top notch on the two mains, the prot warrior and the combat rogue. So yeah, does anybody else have anything to add about that PvP stuff?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Not really.
Well, sorry we didn't have more PvPers on there for your question, but we appreciate you writing in. And the next thing, Mel, do you want to read our review? Or here, I'll read the review and let you read the email. Sound good?
Sure.
All right. We have a 5-star review coming in from iTunes from Calvinal. Fantastic podcast. Needed something to listen to during 18 hours of driving over the holiday weekend. So glad I found this podcast. Enjoyed every minute of it. Great host, great guests, a must listen for any fan of WoW Classic. Thank you so much for your review. We appreciate it so much. It's been kind of dry on the iTunes reviews, but you guys are keeping us there. So thank you. All right, Mel, we got an email from Nathan. You want to read it?
Yeah. Thanks, Nathan.
Remember, it's at the bottom larger, so make it easier to read.
I can't hear you right now, but you can hear me, so that's all that matters. All right. Hey there, Mel, Bob, and guests or guests. Wanted to start by saying I have been a listener since episode 10, and I love the show just as much as I did when I first found you guys. I hope Wrath is going well for everyone. Emailing mostly to brag real fast because I looked at the end of the year Spotify wrap-up thing and saw that you are my second most listened podcast. Second? Come on.
Core. He sent us a screenshot. Core was number one with Scott Johnson. So I feel honored to be number two under Scott. So
that's fair. Says I have to drive 4 hours every weekend to see my girlfriend, and your podcast is always a part of my week. I'm graduate school for a 2 master's degree in public health as well as public administration degree, so my schedule is a little too busy to really push hard and well. But you better believe I'll be pushing for Immortal and all the achievements once a semester is over. Some real degenerate hours are in my future this holiday season. Respectfully yours in this life and the next. Trophy is Holy Paladin for the Alliance. P.S. Broncos country. Let's ride. Not an actual Broncos fan, but come on, man. Russ is such a meme at this point.
Yeah, I was so worried about that and so happy now.
Oh, the Alliance.
It's wonderful.
Oh, man. Yeah. So one thing I saw in that email, thank you so much for sending it, but I wanted to just point this out to you because it's still up in the air. If you're going, you'll still be able to get the achievements for sure, Immortal and all that. But if you're wanting the Drake, it's still up in the air if they're going to remove that or keep it in. Back in the day, they removed it when we went to Ulduar. And then with the backlash, they kept the Ulduar and ICC Drakes in, even after Cataclysm was out, because I went back and got the ICC one during Cataclysm. Now, there is talk from the devs. They talked about it at the community council thing, and they said that they might do something where you could still achieve the achievements with eye level gear, only that tier and lower. So you'd be able to have like any gear that was dropped prior to Ulduar releasing, and you'd be able to complete it that way. Or they might just leave it in, period. They're not sure yet, but just to let you know, there might be a timetable on that. So definitely keep listening to the show. We'll try to keep you updated if they make an actual concrete change. Anybody else got anything to add? No?
No.
If they do the gear-based achievement thing, I think they'll probably just make it you can wear anything 226 or lower.
Oh yeah.
And that would mean you could use some like 10-man Ulduar gear. So
do you think they would do it like that? They probably would.
It will be easier, like either way.
Because it would be hard to code it.
I'm pretty sure they would do that because otherwise it's like really unintuitive for like newer players who are going to be the ones like trying to get that probably.
Yeah.
And yeah, it makes more sense. And in the past when they've done things like that, they've gone purely based on eye level, not like where the gear actually drops.
Yeah, I think the way it works for Herald of the Titans for the older ones is it's like weapons and arm or weapons and shields specifically are higher because they have a higher eye level from the raid or something. It's weird.
Yeah, Scotty J talked about it
like that, where it's like armor 213 and weapons 226 is kind of how it might be worded if they go that direction.
But either way, just thought I would let you know.
But like with Malgos and like Sarth, I mean, you got 226.
Yeah,
like,
that's
of
true.
all different slots.
Yeah,
it just makes more sense for them to just blanket like 226 or less. And,
yeah.
I mean, it will be easier, but like, I mean, it's whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how they coded it in the past, but I think you're right. I think it probably will. Just that seems to be the easier route. So, Well, what's everybody been doing recently in WoW? Who wants to go first? Besides any Shadowland talk or anything. So maybe not a lot for
not
people
much.
like Fabulous.
Yeah, not much.
For me, I've been getting my Prot Warrior ready to go. I got a tanking spot for Ulduar in a new guild, so really excited to like dive way more into Prot Warrior. And I had just leveled up NG, just leveled up JC, redoing some keybinds, trying to optimize things a little more. And yeah, that's mainly what I've been doing. And then on the Prot Pally, been soloing a bunch of stuff. I finally found Doomlord Kazakh up, so I was able to. I soloed him. He dropped like 500 gold, 2 BOEs.
That is nuts. That is nuts.
I can't remember if I sold any of the BOEs yet, but like the Doomwalker and Kazakh BOEs, they actually sell for like 500 to 1,000 gold each for. I don't know why. I don't know what reason.
I think it makes sense on Grob, right? Grob's an RP realm, so
it does make more sense on Grob, but like from people in my Discord, I've heard like across all servers, like people are able to do this, and I really don't get it.
People have gold and they want to buy shit that looks cool. So,
yeah, I guess. I mean, some of them like don't even look cool. I think it's I think it's just people like leveling up and they have some gold from Outlands and like they're like, oh, I can get like this epic item, and they don't realize like the very first quest you do in Northrend are going to give you like better stuff or equal stuff. So
see, then I mean, you do have the people like me that are just crazy. That just if I'm working up, I would enjoy every second of questing and everything. So like I literally buy all those epics and stuff. Like I have like a cap of like how much I'll spend, but I'll spend hundreds of gold on something I'm going to use for like 5 levels. Like I'm weird.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, these items I'm selling though, literally, I feel like they only last like 1 level, if that. Like you probably even just replace them like when you go to Northrend. But I mean, I'm all for it because I'm just making lots of gold for no reason. So it works for me.
You'll take it. You'll take it. Oh, Mel, what have you been up to?
Oh, not a lot. Have I been up to a lot? I feel like we raided. Bob made me come do dungeon achievements with him in Outlands. That was so much fun. And yeah, other than that, I mean, I've been praying my Prot Pally a little bit, and then my priest, like always. That's about it. Nothing too exciting. We played retail for the first time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we talk about Dragonflight and news or whatever. But yeah, I've just been doing like little piddly achievement things. Been raiding, of course. My Prot Warrior's getting really geared. Definitely more geared than my rogue, but that's to be, that's by design. Like there's less, there's less competition for all the gear, you know what I mean? So, but the rogue web death still just will not drop for me. Now that I'm finally like the next in line to get it, it just keeps not dropping every week, which is always
That's how it always goes.
Yeah, we do Spider Wing last now, so like I always have to just wait to just be disappointed every time. It's a very big bummer. Then yeah, so what else? Oh, I've been still working on the Fell Striker. I could tell how many runs I've done now because you get 22 rep for Hydroxian Warlords or whatever it is, for the Molten Core rep. You get 22 rep per kill on that first boss you have to kill, the elemental in the room there. And so by just being able to divide how much rep I have, I can tell you I've done 121 runs now and still have not gotten the Fell Striker.
Oh, geez.
You're still doing that? Yeesh.
Yeah, I'm just
thinking it's going to be one of those things.
At this point, I don't want it to beat me. And it's so frustrating.
You do that many runs and it's just like, I have to get it now.
Yeah, it's been really rough, but I feel like it's gonna be good on AoE trash through the expansion. I mean, I don't see how you'd have to get I haven't done the math, but you'd have to get a much higher damage offhand to equal all crits for the next 3 seconds. Like it's gonna be hard to beat that. So I feel like it'll be a good thing if I get it for the rest of the expansion.
Yeah, I also think the fact that they haven't nerfed it yet is a good sign that it may be safe to actually have and use for the rest of the expansion. It's not just going to be like one day, oh, we decided we don't want you to do this anymore. Because as far as I know, the rogues and I don't know, I don't watch the speedruns, but I assume they're using it for AoE and things with how much they're pulling.
They are,
Yeah,
I think.
Overall.
Honestly, it's only going to get nerfed if warriors start using it. If warriors start using it, it will be nerfed tomorrow. I guarantee you.
Yeah,
that is so true. That is so true. All right, warriors don't. I'd see, but it just wouldn't be as good for warriors. The reason it's so good for the rogues is because like the huge part of that damage in fan is poisons, and like you're getting at least one fan of knives off that's all crits on everything. So everything crits with your weapons and your poisons on everything, and it's just nutty.
It's insane.
Yeah, but it's still something that like I don't know. I think in speedruns they're using it, but they're just swapping it. They're not using the spec. Simon has been working on a spec for just the 2 wings with all of the trash, where it's like got like a lot of the stuff you want, but it's like still good enough to DPS on the bosses. He's been working on that for speedruns specifically.
Oh, well, I was thinking for speedruns, you just have 2 specs, one for trash, one for bosses.
Yeah, but
I don't know if they actually
but you're going so fast.
You don't really have time to change specs either.
So that's what he's been working on for that. But I'm still working on that. It's never going to drop for me. I've just lost
one day.
Yep, I think chat was saying at this point the Fell Striker is farming me, which is fair.
I mean, throwback to SGC and Classic.
Yeah. All right. Well,
those were good times.
I think. So that's basically been it that I can really think of. So I guess, we didn't do anything as far as talent or as far as, we haven't really done any more achievements or anything. Yeah, it's just been kind of business as usual for the rest of the stuff. A lot of the guilds been like playing Dragonflight, so there hasn't been a ton of people on compared to the week prior to Dragonflight coming out. So we're waiting for those people to get bored and come back. So it shouldn't take too long if, we have to go by history, but I hear it's pretty good. But I also heard Shadowlands was pretty good, right off the bat too. So we'll just have to see. All right, well, let's just go and move into time for the news. Okay, so Dragonflight did come out. Mel and I did play it. Fabulous has played it. Subtle has not played it. So
not gonna be playing it.
Not good. Okay, so well, before we talk about our experience with it, tell us why you decided not to, because this is the first one you said that you haven't played.
Yeah, I mean, just every expansion since like MOP, I've just played less and less. So, like, I think Shadowlands I played for literally a week. So I was like, all right, I'm not spending $70 to play this game for one day and like get bored of it. So I just like Classic way more. Like especially now that we're in Wrath. Like Wrath is my absolute favorite. I mean, I actually love Cat and Mop, but like I will play the shit out of those if they release them. But
I'll say.
But I mean, Wrath is such a good time. Like even in Nax, so like right now, this is like probably the worst time of the expansion, and it's still awesome. I love it.
Yeah,
dude, that's okay. So I was like going to the 10-man raids. Everybody's like, "Why do you even bother?" I was like, "Well, nobody else bothers," but like They're like, dude, still need anything? I was like, really, not really anything. Maybe I could use a cape off Saffron, like, but it's not really what I'm shooting for. It would be a slight upgrade, but like, really, I just want to raid. I'm just having a good time practicing rotations and like learning different stuff and trying something a little different with the rotation. Like, you know, like I don't know. I'm having a blast just in Nax. So yeah, I was actually talking in the creators Discord, and I didn't get a lot of traction from anybody that thought my idea was good. But I thought I might mention it here because chat was kind of talking to me the other day and mentioning about something, and I was like, dude, I put that exact comment into the creators Discord just a few weeks ago, and I went and found it, and I just think like if it was about Season of Mastery, and I just think if you're going to do a Season of Mastery, you do it with Wrath talents. You don't truncate them. You just leave you with like, you could get the last talent if you want. If you want to put all your stuff in, and if not, try something else. Like, I just want to see what happens. Like, and I don't think I could go back to a one button rotation either. Like, Wrathify Classic, and that's your new Season of Mastery. And it would be pretty exciting to see how people break things.
It would be a very simple solution to the trying to make everything viable for the classic environment.
I mean, I really think it would be neat. Like, I think it would be.
I think it would be interesting.
A really good time. Like, that would be the only thing that would really entice me to go back to a Season of Mastery. That and a hardcore server, like an actual hardcore server, would be pretty damn interesting. But it still would be rough to go back to not having your mount till level 40. Not, you know, like, there's just so many things in Wrath that I love that took it right to where I wanted it to be and not too far.
Yeah.
Like, not too accessible, but not just absurdly hard, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, it's good middle ground.
That's kind of where I'm at. Like, I would love to just see that, but that's not really what we're talking about. So Fab, why don't you tell us about your experience with Dragonflight?
Well, I've probably been playing too much Dragonflight currently. It was a WoW launch. It was actually surprisingly the worst expansion launch in a while. It was really, really bad at the start. Yeah, it was
the
like
first day I heard was rough.
Yeah. Also, I'm on a big server, so it's worse. But yeah, it was rough first day. But I leveled. I did the dragon riding.
Which is really cool. The dragon riding is really cool.
It's a lot of fun.
It's really fun.
I was really bad at it at first too, and then I figured some things out and was like, okay, I can do it properly now. And
you work up your dragon.
Yeah, the other thing, and someone else who did this, and this was actually getting recommended, I saw by people, which is before you start questing in Dragonflight, go get every single sigil.
As soon as you get your dragon, that's exactly what Mel's brother told us.
Yeah, just go max out your dragon riding. It'll make the experience way better overall.
Yeah, that's what we were going to do last night.
Skills. I don't know where they are.
You can just if you get handy notes, they're all on the map.
Yeah, it's that rune. Remember that you had to fly through? We did it at the very end of the night last night. We were kind of faded at that point, but
yeah, I just don't know. Like, I can't pull it up like I can pull up my talents.
No, the easiest way is if you just get handy notes, it shows where all of them are on the map.
Oh, okay.
Which is exactly what your brother told us to grab.
Yeah, he's a retail Andy.
Yeah, Mythic Raider and all that. So okay, so go on.
I mean, other than that, there's one of the nice things is all the content. There's nothing that feels like you have to do it to be ready for raiding, basically, or to ready for anything.
Feels good. I haven't played any of the other expansions until this one.
Not having to farm some sort of AP or like some kind of player power related thing is so nice. I just farm the reps that I want to farm for whatever I'm farming them for.
And give some
But-
examples of what you would be farming them for.
It's still mostly gear, but there's gear, there's profession stuff, there's transmog, there's a bunch of other stuff that I don't know much about yet because I haven't gotten to.
Okay. Yeah, I was watching some. Oh, unfortunately, like I looked up a few videos, and now my freaking YouTube is full with retail stuff and trying to parse through like what's retail, what's not.
Yeah.
Got this one guy that's a retail creator, and I get it. It's a smart thing, but it drives me nuts when I see this thing about Wrath of the Lich King farm. And I go into it. This was prior to Dragonflight coming out. And it's a freaking retail farm in the Wrath of the Lich King area. I was just like,
you got baited.
Baited, dude. I was like, I get it. It's smart, but like,
I'm not even sure that would be intentional necessarily, but who knows?
It's gotta be intentional. He's like, oh, Wrath of the Lich King's hot right now.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's true. You get more clicks.
All right, well, Mel and I played. Mel, you want to take this one? Or here, maybe I'll start since she's, because I played prior to her. So I booted it up and I went and made a Drakthur. I was like, why not, make the new dragon class? I was a little upset. I couldn't make a buff Drakthur. Like, I was a little upset about that. Like, I couldn't make a buff guy, and I was like, it was kind of a rough emotions day for me across the board. Because so like I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I'll make it like this, okay. But I was just very blood elf vibe from the male Drakthur for me. And then we started getting in, and I'm doing the starting area, and I mean, it played great. I was just kind of hitting buttons though. Like they give you so much gear right off the bat on that Drakthur. Like I got my first epic within like 10 minutes. I was like, oh, okay. All right. Well, and then I got a full set of blues. And then before I was even out of the starting area, I got another full set of blues that was an item level higher. I was like, okay. But like the flying, which is like basically similar to the dragon flying, it's just like a smaller version of it that they could do on their own. But boy, it's overpowered. And just everything I was doing was overpowered. Then we got to the actual main storyline. I'm watching all the Alliance guys, and I'm like, where's all the manly men? It's a lot of men, but they just weren't they weren't my manly men type of men. And so I asked Chet, where is what's his name? Oh shit, I'm blanking on his name now. Currently in Wrath, the Steward of Stormwind, ruling for the Boy King until he comes of age, Anduin. Bolvar. I was like, where's the Bolvar? Like, that's a manly man. And they're like, oh, he died. And I was like, he died? What? And then they sent me the, like, his death cinematic from Legion. And I watched it and I was like, no. So that was kind of a bummer. I was like, okay, well, I want my representation. I want some toxic masculinity in here, like where, and then they were like saying that then chat was trying to tell me that I was like manly, and I was like, dude, I'm from the Midwest. I'm pretty like for here, I'm pretty effeminate for here. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I'm talking like man's man, like. But yeah, I was basically joking too, like it's just kind of funny because all the dudes had like purple or blue hair, and I was like, okay, well, this is interesting.
Just to be clear, the only reason that Bob knows who this person is and understands any part of this lore is because of the Warcraft movie.
Hell yeah.
That's
and it was Mel was like, who's Bolvar? I was like, it's the dude from the Warcraft movie with the gorgeous eyes that was in Vikings. And she's like, oh, yeah, okay. She knew exactly what I was talking about then. Oh, man. But yeah, I thought it was, I think the cutscenes and stuff are really freaking cool. Really freaking cool. Like I love
they've been
that
doing
stuff.
Those, because I haven't played retail in a long time. Have they been doing those for a long time?
I think they've been doing them for a bit.
This expansion had more cutscenes than any of the others, though. Like just as part of the main story, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of people telling me that they just skipped through them and they were happy that I was watching them on stream. But I'm like, I love single player games. When I get to a cutscene, I'm like, oh, okay. And I used to be you know, back in the day, I was a smoker. So like, it'd be like, oh, time to light a cigarette. This is great. You know, like it was just like, I love cutscenes and I really think they're well done. Then Mel and I played together the next time. And I found something that really kind of bummed me out about the way retail works now. So I'm sitting here waiting for Mel. I'm like, hey, we got to start this escort quest. And then Mel starts running off. I'm like, Mel, we got to talk to this guy and start the escort quest. She's like, I'm on it. He's in front of me. And I was like, he's back here. So then I started it. And we're on the same escort quest in the same group with the like quest syncing thing. I don't know exactly what all that does, but like we synced our quests. And it just took me out of it. I was like, well, we're not taking the same guy. Like, you know, I'm fine with like instancing us, you know what I mean? And not everybody else. But literally she could just go on and do whatever she wanted to without me. And I could do the same thing. And I was like, this isn't playing together. This is just us racing to see how fast we can complete the different things. Like, and I know, you know, in chat, Zamora in chat was in there. She was like, oh, it's great. You don't have to wait for somebody else to do something. I was like, yeah, but that's kind of the point of the MMO for me.
Yeah.
That part was really off-putting.
Yeah, that escort quest thing is definitely weird.
Yeah, it was just like,
sounds like peak retail.
Yeah. I mean, basically just taking the community aspect out of it, right? And I think that was kind of the bummer of it. There was a lot of things that didn't share, a lot of things that it was just kind of like we were doing on our own.
Yeah, a lot of the quest objectives and stuff. I was like, wait, you have to do this part too? Like, we're doing it together. What the hell?
A lot of the questing stuff, I think, is like that. And then once you actually reach 70, a lot of the world content, when you go around, you'll see a lot of other people doing it. But yeah.
And it was weird because we both had somebody following us and we could see each other, but we couldn't see their person, like their escort person.
That's
right?
Yeah. Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, that's why Bob was like, "Where are you going?"
I don't remember that ever being like that.
Yeah, it was like my guy was just like instanced into just my zone, but he could see me, but not my guy, and I could see him, but not his guy. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it's just like that part kind of took me out of it. Also, like the talents, it's cool that they put those in. And this is probably like, you know, this is probably a problem of boosting, but it's just so overwhelming. And the talent trees, almost all of them are just one talent point. And I thought that was like not as interesting of a design as the way talents currently are in Wrath, where you're putting different points in. And it didn't feel the same. And then like, I was like, well, do I take the time to read all of these talents, these 100 talents, like, and figure out something to do? Like, and I was like, no, like, I'll just click whatever and then hit buttons. Like there wasn't really it seemed like you could do kind of whatever, like, and still make it through it. And like, there was no like onus on, hey, you need to learn how to play this if you want to be successful and quest up. Whereas like, this just seemed like, oh, I could just hit buttons. And then now the rogue, I boosted a rogue with Mel's priest. Just because like I was like, well, I'll keep the Dracthyr separate. And the rogue was definitely tougher, but I'm in all greens on the rogue. So that probably plays a factor in, but they like changed rogue.
One good quality of life thing to the talents, though, I do like how you don't just have to reset all your talents if you want to respec. Like you can right click, like take a talent away, or you can left click and it'll put a talent in, right? Like, come on, guys, let's be real. That would be nice.
I don't know. See, and I thought that was kind of off-putting too. I was like, hey, I need to change my spec. Where do I go to do that? And they're like, chat's telling me, oh, we'll just pull up the menu and just change. I was like, what?
Okay.
You can just change on the
I'm
fly
just
whenever you
talking-
want. Not even a cooldown
I'm
or
not
anything.
even talking about that. I'm just talking about the fact that you don't have to like, you know, like even though now you have like the save option, right? So you don't have to pay for it again if you mess up one thing. But there is the satisfaction of being like, oh, okay, I don't want to restart completely. I just want to take that talent away that I just put into that skill and put it somewhere else.
Everybody in Classic at least would get really degen with that and just have like macros to, you know, change their talents. Like every single like trash bag, maybe like this talent's a little better for this trash bag. And like it could get kind of crazy. I don't know. Can you only like change them in town or can you do them anywhere?
You can't change them in, I think the only limitation is combat.
Oh geez. Yeah, that would be pretty wild and Classic.
You could have 10 different talent sets for trash or 10 different raid bosses and just swap it each one.
Mm-hmm.
Can you like save them?
Yeah.
Oh, you can. Yeah, I did see that. You can like save them. Yeah, that's weird. I mean, I played it like it was a totally different game, right? Which is pretty much what it feels like. It just feels like it's a totally different game. So if you go in thinking it's going to be anything like Wrath or Classic or what you're used to, like
not at all.
You're going to hate it, right? But if you go in thinking like, hey, I'm just trying out this new game, it's not that bad. But yeah, I don't know. It has like enough similarities that it brings you back to like even the priest, like, I don't know, there was like still spells that I use, and then there was like all these new spells and I didn't know what they did, so I just kind of pressed them at random times. And spells that like are powerful right now are definitely less powerful like in retail now, so I don't know. It was fine.
Yeah, I guess like playing the Drakthir first was better for me because when I played the rogue, I was like, what have you done to my rogue? Like, why do I not have a bleed in this, you know, what's it called? Outlaw spec, which is, they basically, I guess they changed combat at some point.
It's like a pirate kind of spec now.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and I don't really know.
It's not a cool idea.
Stuff right. I thought the name was cool. But like you have like 7 bubbles, like, and like you can use some of your bubbles because some moves just use a certain amount of bubbles. Like it was definitely interesting. It could be something that I would really like, but like there's a lot. I think definitely starting from 1 would probably be the way to go and get your moves slowly and kind of like have like an idea of what the power level of each of them are and kind of work into your own rotation, or I just need to look up a guide or something, but it's definitely a little...
The UI is definitely nice, right?
Cool.
Like,
yeah,
they've
really
added in so much to it. I mean, they basically have click within the standard UI, right? Where you can just bind spells to click on bars, which is really cool. And then I mean, it's just much more user-friendly, I feel like. There's a lot more customization. They've added a lot in. I feel like they've taken what a lot of the add-ons do for us right now and just put them into the master UI, which is nice.
Did you guys follow the Heavenly Cloud Serpent Invoker or Evoker drama at all?
Yeah. Oh, I know all. Yeah.
What is this?
So there was this really, really rare mount from Mr. Pandaria, one of the world bosses, and really tough to get. I think it was like 0.01% drop chance. But turned out Evokers had a 40% chance to get it. So they were just able to get this ridiculously rare mount really easily. And if they didn't get it, they deleted their character, remade an evoker to get another chance at it, since accounts are mounts are account bound.
Mounts are shared.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this really, really ultra rare mount, like I don't really follow retail, but from my understanding, it's like the rarest mount or one of the rarest mounts in the game.
I think, drop wise, it's considered the rarest.
Yeah,
currently.
So everybody was just able to get a free one, except for like EU players. I think it got fixed before this went live on EU servers.
Ooh,
so
they got to take it away, dude.
Yeah.
They got to take it away.
So they did something, but I think this, if I remember correctly, when I was reading up on this, the actual reason why the evokers had a higher drop rate, it was all the world boss mounts actually from Miss Pandaria, is because they were a different class. The loot table for the world bosses was based off classes or something. So the only loot they could have off those bosses were like the mount. And it might have just been the mount. So if they got loot, they got the mount, and there was no other way.
Yeah, exactly. So the way it worked, I think it was a roll between 1 and 61 or 59, something like that, meant you just got gold. And then a roll from 61 to 100 or whatever it was meant you got loot. And then from there was like another roll for like what loot it was. But since Blizzard didn't set up any loot for the evoker to get other than just the mount, they had that entire like 40-ish% chance was only to get the mount, no other loot. So yeah,
it's pretty slick. Whoever figured that out.
Very upset about that.
Especially if you had it too.
I think they buffed it to be a 1% drop chance after like this whole fiasco. So it's just like, it's been really, really devalued. So people are pretty pissed.
I feel like that's the type of thing you would just have to take away as they say sorry, but I don't know if that's what they do with retail now.
Yeah, from my understanding, everybody got to keep the mount and they just buffed the drop chance. So,
wow. See, those types of things, man, those types of things make you mad. Like, just like.
Dude, yeah, if I had, so on average, it was supposed to take, I think, 7,500 kills to get this mount. And like, if you got that mount, you probably felt pretty awesome. And then all of a sudden, literally every new evoker has it. And it's like, oh, shit.
That is rough.
Not as cool anymore.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's, I definitely, like, I've only played two sessions. I can't give, I can't give an honest thing. I'm going to keep playing it, a little bit each day. I still got to, Blizzard, if you could just intervene and make that Fell Striker drop, I'll play it more. But I need that Fell Striker. I was playing retail for like 35 minutes, and then I do 5 runs for 25 minutes, and then go back to retail for 35 minutes, and then 5 runs of the Fell Striker for 25 minutes, and then kind of worked out.
That's the way I do, dude. I'm gonna figure out a way to make it really good for warriors, so they nerf it, because literally anything that's good for warriors, they nerf immediately, and then I won't have to farm it on my rogue. I'll be very happy.
Yeah, dude. And Classic Go, I told him about this, and he wanted to try out. Oh, we got a little bit of a snafu. Fab had to restart his thing. I know the names aren't right here, guys, but at least
I got my shoulders.
Oh, the names
are
right
now. Hell yeah. Oh, there we go.
Yep. See, okay, so the names are right, but the class, well, I mean, Subtle might play a druid at some point, but we're just gonna have to go with that until Fab gets back.
I might.
Yeah, I just need to play it more and see what I think. But am I gonna be playing? You have one main game, Classic's mine. Like, I felt like a fish out of water in retail, but I did have a good time at different times. Sometimes I kind of got angry. Mel tried to curb me down and be like, Bob. And like, I'd be like, yeah, I know, but it just pisses me off. Like
he wanted to hate it.
Well, it wasn't that I wanted to hate it. I came in like, enjoying myself, but like, it's not that I want to hate it. It's just that some of the things I really hate. Like, I really hate some of the things.
Classic, and it's not.
I know. But yeah, there are things that I'm enjoying, but, what are Fab's restarting? But we could probably just move on to the next thing here. Yep. Unless you have anything left to say about retail?
Nope. I mean, I only played for a couple hours.
But you didn't really give like what you felt about it. You kind of talked about like you talked about like playing it as a different game, but you didn't really give your like.
I mean, I don't know.
Do you have fun
like,
with certain things?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I like questing, so you know, I'm always going to enjoy a little bit of questing. It was just.
What'd you think of the questing and how it worked, though?
Well, I didn't have rested, so it was worse than anything else. I could have gotten rested. I just didn't know if we were going to play, so I didn't want to get it quite yet. But it's.
And we're not in a hurry to get max level, which is what rested does best, is like get you there.
Yeah, but rested
fast, right?
also tells me what to do.
It does.
And
It does do that a lot.
Like there was a lot of times where I was like, I don't know what is happening. I'm at the place that it tells me I need to be at. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was fine. It's not like I'm itching to play it again, but that's probably more so just because I don't know all of my skills and I boosted, and there's a lot of crazy things in there that I don't understand.
You were noticing that you couldn't that the quest items didn't glow and stuff, but like I didn't really find all the quest items and stuff are like one thing now. Like there wasn't. I don't remember a lot of like collect these things off the ground quests, and that you're fighting for them with other people.
Those are my favorite though. Collect 12 things off the ground.
Those are the best, right? No. But
yeah,
like
there was
they're kind of
I had to like free like 20 different little like wildlife things, but they all had little purple stars above their heads.
I mean, the quests where you have to like kill 1,000 things to get 20 drops, not a big fan of those. But the quests where you're kind of like fighting with other people are around, and like you find 2 of them right close to each other, you land, you get one, and some asshole comes up and takes the other one, and you're like, asshole. But like it seems like in retail, like y'all
Somebody
just did your own little instanced quest item thing.
Yeah, you probably have your own items, like the escort thing you were talking about, right?
Yeah. It was
weird.
Yeah, those things were definitely weird. Fabulous, are you here? Are you having issues?
Am I here? Yes, I'm here. Yeah, I'm not on my laptop anymore, though, so no more camera.
Okay, well then here, real quick.
It was breaking. Decided to.
So now everything is messed up.
We all got new names on the stream.
Okay, how do we do this? Okay.
I also decided to do an update right there, so I couldn't quickly get back on it.
I'm just gonna try and do this really quick. Sorry for the people listening, but Mel, talk about a little something, whatever you can think of, while I fix this real quick.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about Dragonflight, but we can move on to the next topic. We have the Wrath. No? Yeah, it'll be fine. The Wrath Classic PTR updated to build 3.4.1.46917. Come on. Datamined spells. Armor potions have been nerfed.
That's what I was talking about.
Wait,
something's
really?
good for warrior, it's over.
Wait, why are they nerfing armor potions?
So they're making it puts your potions on a 2-minute cooldown now, so you can't do the pre-pot. So before you could do you could use the armor pot, wait a minute, then pull a boss. So you had armor pot for 1 minute, and you could do a pre-pot, speed pot as well. It's like mostly relevant for like Sarth right now.
Yeah,
for warrior, for like Zerg Sarth, I mean. For warriors though, like they were doing it on a lot of stuff because I mean it just gives them, more attack power for each point of armor they have, or 100 whatever armor.
Right.
Yeah, no, so that doesn't affect us. Another thing that says related to patch stuff is one of the prot pally changes, which I think is going to be huge. You probably saw this, is that Reckoning is now going to give you the proc off blocks.
That actually was just a tooltip change.
Was it? I thought it was an actual mechanic change, or is it a tooltip change?
Yeah, just a tooltip change. I tested all the Reckoning stuff, and it was always proccing off a block at any
I
rank.
assumed it was just one of those weird things where it only gave it to you if you got the 5th talent point.
I do actually like talents that are built like that, where putting like filling out the talent actually gives you like an extra bonus. But it was just actually a tooltip bug. It was at every rank giving you reckoning off blocks already.
Okay. I gave Blizzard too much credit for the creativity.
Yeah, I had to test that because like I was, experimenting with different builds that had like maybe 3 or 4 points in reckoning, and I was like, am I gaining a ton of value by putting that 5th point in? I need to know, but
right.
Yeah, so the indestructible potion, it was a 1 minute cooldown out of combat, right?
Mm-hmm. All potions are on a 1 minute cooldown, but now Armor Pot specifically will put other potions on a 2 minute cooldown. Actually, Invisbot kind of works the same. It puts all your potions on a 15 minute cooldown, or 10 minute cooldown.
Really?
Ooh,
oh wow, 10 minutes. I guess yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when I do that speed runs is not a good call now.
Yeah, I do like the Scotty. So I mean, it was always like that for Invisbot, but like for the Scotty solo, I skipped that like first hallway with Invisbot, and I've gotten pretty good at the run now. So my potion cooldown isn't even up by the time I like finish the whole thing now.
Yeah.
Wow.
I attempted to do it once. I cleared all the way to Scotty, and then I kind of just died a few times and was like, I'll try again later.
I probably need to do an updated video because I do it like slightly differently now, but it's a little bit easier.
Well, the other change, they made the change to Valinir because the big controversy was as soon as the item level changes came up, everybody was saying, oh, this is now BIS for enhance spell enhance chamois, which I think most enhanced chamois are running right now because it's just the best. I've heard though that later on it becomes better to just go straight up real weapons as opposed to spell power weapons, but people were saying that now Valinir is going to be BIS. So they nerfed the damage, but you tell me if they nerfed the damage enough. They nerfed it from 133.6 damage per second to 125.0 damage per second. Like, I don't feel like that's a big enough nerf because that's a ton of spell power, right? Like,
I assume it's still going to be good.
Yeah,
I don't know enough about it.
I don't see a world though where any guild or anything is giving a Valinir to their enhancement shaman over a healer.
It's gonna be like a GDKP thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's hope.
I don't know, man.
There's going to be,
pretty good.
This joke you make is there's going to be this one guild leader out there who's an enhanced shaman who's going to go, it's BIS, so I'm going to take it.
Right.
Yeah. So Todd from Blizzard in chat says it's still BIS by like 20-ish DPS. I don't know. All I know is looking at it, it didn't look like they nerfed the damage near enough to like make it not viable. I feel like they should have just nerfed the damage into the ground and made it just literally a little stick.
I don't think it matters that much because, any reasonable guilds, you gotta give it to healers anyway. Like, you're not gonna give it to an enhanced shaman just because it's it's 50 DPS.
Yeah, BIS by 20 DPS, and then you replace it in the next raid, right? With the healers, I'm pretty sure you use Valinir forever.
It didn't need to get touched at all. I don't think. It's something like people are gonna get in GDKP. Like, that's basically it. As a DPS,
It's actually a prot pally weapon too.
Well,
if it has high
weapon
damage.
Well, no, it's not a prot pally. I mean, just because spell damage isn't good for you now, right?
It still is. It's consecrate things still scale off it. It's okay.
It's pretty weak now.
It's pretty weak when you can double dip with strength and attack power, right?
Yeah.
For like a pure farming spec where you're pulling like 50 to 100 mobs kind of thing, like it could possibly be used for that. But I mean, you're not gonna go for it. Like, you're gonna go for Caressive Insanity from Ulduar.
Cool. Well, did anybody else see anything in these? I mean, all this information is just basically coming from the just what, like, Blizzard hasn't said anything about it. It's the data mining from the PTR build, the most recent PTR build. So they still might nerf it even more damage wise. Like, it'll just kind of depend.
They seem to be flip flopping a lot with how they're doing the gear for Old War. They go from like, oh, we're doing this to, okay, we're changing things. So who knows what the final product is going to be with the Old War gear. All
right. Well, I did want to do a little mention. Speaking of Ulduar, it's coming up fast, and I don't know if anybody remembers Fark, who recently came on the show and guested on the show. Well, Fark has been doing guides for a bit, but he's started his Ulduar guides. I'm gonna have links to his 3 guides at the moment in the show notes and in the YouTube notes. So definitely check them out. But they're really good. They're just short to the point. They explain they do a really good job of showing you the mobs that he's talking about and showing you the different moves you have to watch out for. I mean, they're all within 6 minutes long for each boss, and they're just really good. And I know he's going to be trying to get all of the guides out prior to Ulduar coming out, and I know we're going to have some pre-nerf stuff, but like, there's still going to be, the mechanics are still going to be very similar to beat the boss. So I wanted to kind of shout him out and also say that if you go follow his channel, it's at Fark Gaming on YouTube. I'll have the link in the notes, but if you go to his channel, you should sub because he's close to 1,000 subs, which means he can start.
That's the magic number.
Yep. Means he can start to monetize and help himself out, and Wally's helping you out. So please give him some more subs and definitely check it out. And if you follow that channel, I assume he's going to put it on his channel too, but he's starting a podcast. I don't know a ton about it, but I know I'm going to be guesting on it with him and Turbo tomorrow. So definitely check it out. If you check out his channel, I'm assuming it'll be put up there at some point, but you could also check out his Twitch, which, oh my gosh, I think it's just Fark TV, but hold on, let me just make sure. Yeah, it's Fark_TV. So if you check out his Twitch
chat right now.
Hey, Fark in chat. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, it's Fark_TV. That's FARK_TV. Check it out. Check out the videos. You will thank me. They're quick to the point, concise, and they make sense. And for people who haven't seen all the bosses, I think it'll help you out a ton. But yeah, let's get on to.
Bobby, we need to have a talk about this World of Warcraft Classic. Do I look like I know what a WoW token is?
All right. Well, in this week's discussion, we're going to do Prot Pally 101. This is intending, and Subtle told me I might have to reel him back a bit, but this is intended to help new Prot Paladins feel comfortable going in and tanking, heroics and raids after they hit level 80. So we're going to really try and just tell you guys not how to be the best Prot Pally, but how to be a prot pally. And I think it'll be helpful for a lot of people. If you're a huge know-it-all, maybe it's not, but maybe this part's not for you. So
maybe you don't know as much as you think you do.
Yeah, this is
I'm
going to
sure
be.
Yip can learn a few things.
Harsh. Well, we've got the Prot Pally guru in the house, the man that's soloed all of the heroics and wrath now in Subtle. We've got one of our guild's tanks that tanks as a Prot Pally as an off tank, which might be something Subtle doesn't do a ton. And then we've got Mel, who's
not often.
We've got Mel, who's a brand new prop paladin tank and has done a bunch of heroics and a little bit of raiding. So I think it's going to be a good time. And I kind of want to start off with like just what are some of the important self buffs that a pally needs? Because I know there's one specifically that is extremely important to have on at all times. Yes, it might be obvious, but let's tell people about it.
Righteous Fury. That's the number one. You gotta have that up at all times, unless you're in like a weird off tank role where you're trying not to like pull off the tank. Then you may want to actually turn it off. But
and what's Righteous Fury do? Just for anybody who
it increases your holy threat generated by 80%, and there's a hidden component that increases all of your threat generated by 43% too. But the tooltip doesn't tell you that.
Interesting. So any melee hit or anything.
Yeah, like your I mean, it includes literally everything. So it's more holy threat. It's also more, physical damage threat, everything.
Okay.
Yeah, so that one's huge. A lot of people don't know about that hidden threat component either, but Blizzard added that to all tanks actually in Wrath to make up for the fact that they took away the old version of Blessing of Salve, where the rest of your raid had their threat reduced by 30%. And the way it maths out, it ends up being like the same like threat between everybody.
It's just you don't have to buff them.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty nice. So Reg's Fury number one. I recommend getting a weak aura.
Yep.
I have a ton of weak auras. I mean, we'll probably find some way to link my Discord or something, but we get really, really into the weeds on Prop Pally in my Discord.
Definitely. We'll have that in the show notes for sure.
Cool. So in my Discord too, I have a link to my Wago where I've got all my weak auras listed, so you can get all those. And one of them is the Essential Buffs weak aura, which has Righteous Fury. That is like the number one. And then Blessing of Sanct, that's probably your number two.
And what does that do? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so it increases your stamina strength by 10%. Those are like your two best stats for the most part. Stam being your best like defensive stat, and then strength being your best offensive stat. And it also, every time you dodge, parry, or block, it's going to give you 2% of your mana back. So if you're having mana issues, just pull more mobs. More avoidance means more mana. There's no internal cooldown on that. You can just get as much mana as you want from that.
Is that something you've been using, Mel?
What was it?
Blessing of Sanctity?
I don't know.
It's like a blue shield icon.
Oh, yes.
Okay, yeah. You're on the right track then. That's like key for sure to always have that.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things where with both abilities, you'll notice if you don't have them up. You'll go or you won't have threat.
You'll be like, why is everybody pulling off of me? Even like the Disc Priest is pulling off.
I still miss Righteous Fury when I'm swapping between specs. I'll swap back to prop for a fight, and then it's usually Thaddeus of all the fights. And then I notice about 10 seconds into the pull, people creeping, and that I forgot it.
Oof. Yeah.
But it hasn't caused issues yet.
For Righteous Fury, also, there's a talent makes you take 6% less damage when you have it up. So just another reason to always have it on.
Yep.
And it has an infinite duration now too. So you don't actually have to refresh it unless you respec or die or whatever.
Even if you like log out and log back in, it's still on.
Yeah, it'll just be on until you die or respec.
Yep.
See,
or get dispelled.
That's nice because I've been doing the prop warrior, and I had to get a weak aura for
vigilance.
Yeah, vigilance is where for anybody listening, it's where the prop warrior puts it on a DPS, and part of their threat is transferred to you, and it's very helpful, especially on trash. You want to put it on like an AoE person, and then like you're getting really intricate, you put it on like an assassination rogue or something on the boss, and honestly, it depends boss to boss. whichever one does more threat. Now, I would say never put it on an unholy DK because it's only going to be on the DK and not on their pet. And since their pet does half their damage, like, you know, you might be tricked into doing that. Don't do that. Don't ever trick, say, DK either, an unholy DK. Sorry, but yeah, but that's got to be nice. I wish that would just work, you know, like that for me, so I don't have to worry about it if I died. But it's a 30-minute cooldown for me.
Yeah, on beta, it may actually still work like this. I don't think it does anymore, but at least on beta, every time somebody went through like a loading screen, it would remove their vigilance too. So was
it does,
awful.
yeah. Yep, but that's why though I have to have the weak aura. It helps. I got that for my, you know, shout buff and for that, so helps out a lot to see. Sorry, go ahead.
And then just for more buffs, you always want to make sure you have Sacred Shield on you, but generally Holy Pally is going to be putting that on you. It scales with 75% spell power, so Holy Pally is just going to have more spell power. They're going to have a better Sacred Shield. If you're solo or just like don't have one for whatever reason, though, just make sure you're keeping that on yourself too. That's also part of my essential buffs, weak aura.
And Sacred Shield is, what does that do?
Yeah, so when you take a hit, it puts an absorb effect on you, and that absorb effect scales with your spell power. Nice. And it has a 6-second cooldown too. So if you're not taking a lot of damage, you like almost always have this up on you, like a little bit of absorb. I mean, even on harder hitting bosses, though, it's great. It takes a huge chunk off a hit. Yeah, that's definitely an essential one, though. And then Divine Plea, that's a really big one. Learning to manage that is pretty important because it's a 15-second buff. It restores 3% of your mana every, I forget how many seconds, but it ends up being 25% of your mana over 15 seconds.
I think the tooltip just reads 25% over 12 seconds.
I forget what, you know, like second chunks it like gives you mana in, but yeah, so that one you gotta have it on. It just gives you tons of mana. And we have a talent that you can put 1 or 2 points in it, and when you attack, it will refresh Divine Plea to keep it on you. So while you're fighting things, it'll just be on you 100% of the time, which is awesome. And also, so 1 point in that talent, it will give you a 50% chance to proc it. 2 points is 100%. You really only need the 1 point in it for the most part. Once we get into harder hitting things, we'll have 2 points in it because that talent also reduces your spell damage taken. But for now, not a lot of things are doing damage. So a lot of people are just putting 1 point in that just to keep the Divine Plea refreshing.
Okay. So that kind of like makes me think of something else that I didn't have in the notes here. There's so I've been learning specifically on the warrior. There's specific times that I do want to use a slow weapon as opposed to a fast weapon. What are you wanting? And are you wanting different ones for different situation, or is like slow actually better, or is fast actually better? Because I see a ton of paladins using that slow weapon from the slow sword from 4 horse.
Yeah, Broken Promise. Yeah. Pallies want slow weapons all the time. The only time you'll use a fast weapon is if the defensive stats are needed, basically. Like if you need the defensive stats that a fast weapon has, since fast weapons are generally statted for tanks. So you really only use fast weapons for these stats on them. Potentially the DPS, but the DPS on fast weapon has to be way, way higher than a slow weapon to just like break even on damage.
See, okay, tell me if I'm wrong here. Just a quick warrior question. I feel like a slow weapon I only care about for trash if I'm using cleave. like on the warrior. I feel like I want to have my fast weapon almost at all times. Am I crazy?
Honestly, I'm not like super deep into warrior yet. My understanding is you pretty much always want the fast one just to get off, more cleaves, more heroic strikes. Like when you're tab targeting through a pack, it's more valuable, to get more cleaves off spread around the pack.
Yeah, because
then
you still
on a single
tab
target
a lot.
boss, you're getting more heroic strikes.
Yeah, because but like the only thing I think of for the slow weapon is revenge spec, and you really, unless you're kind of an asshole, you're really not using that in raids.
Well,
Warrior
revenge only scales with attack power. It's not based on your weapon damage at all.
But if you're doing huge packs, you're like doing revenge and cleave all at the same time, so your cleave damage goes up quite a bit when using a slow weapon. Like if you're farming in dungeons and stuff of that nature. But that's the only time I could think of like using it, just because you're using cleave.
Are you saying just from like the parry haste giving you more cleaves? Because like overall,
no,
it's
just
gonna,
giving
like,
you
average
bigger
out,
cleaves,
right, between the fast and.
Oh, you think it averages out because the DPS is the same?
I mean, like I said, I'm not that deep into warrior yet.
It might.
So I don't know. There may be something there, but yeah, I feel like the fast is probably just always better. But I'll keep diving into warrior. I'm still dipping my toes right now.
Yeah, I haven't really had a slow weapon to really test anything with. It was just that was my thought process on it. But yeah, I was just sorry, didn't mean to take it to prop warrior. Back to prop pally. My bad.
Yeah. So we were talking about the weapon speed, fast versus slow. So for prop pally, the reason you want the slow is because Seal of Vengeance, the instant damage proc on that scales with weapon damage. It's not normalized. So from auto attacks, the procs you get, they will average out to be the same between fast and slow. But since we have so many instant attacks that also proc, that's where you gain a lot of the damage, is because you're gonna proc the same amount of it's 100% proc chance, so you're gonna proc the same amount of Seal of Vengeance instant damage procs, but they're just gonna do like double damage when you have a slow weapon. So that's gonna be through the roof for single target. And then on cleave, you're gonna be using Seal of Command, which same thing, scales with weapon damage. It's not normalized. You're proccing it off instant attacks. You are going to do way more damage in cleave with a slow weapon. And then when you're doing soloing stuff too, Seal of Light and I think Judgment of Light too, but I haven't tested Judgment of Light. They're based on the procs per minute system. So the idea of this was that a fast and slow weapon, when you're auto attacking, are going to get the same amount of procs in a minute. It's about 15 for Seal of Light. And so to do this, they have a lower proc chance on fast weapons because you're going to get more hits. They have a higher proc chance on slow weapons because you're going to get fewer hits. But the idea is that they would even out over the course of a minute. But you throw instant attacks into it, and the proc chance isn't normalized on the instant attacks. So your instant attacks are using that higher proc chance of the slow weapon. And again, you're doing the same amount of instant attacks with a fast and slow. So you're getting way more healing when you're using a slow weapon. It's primarily just for soloing things that comes into play, but just all across the board, slow weapon is like the way to go. You only use fast if you need the defensive stats on it.
Okay, so got it. Okay, all right. All right. So my next question is like, what are you shooting for defense, hit, expertise, etc.? And I know it's different compared to raid, and for people listening to this might we want to let them know what they can do heroics with too, because they probably aren't at per se the defense cap for a raid, and yeah, just give us those.
Sure. Yeah. So first off, it's definitely better to try to call it crit cap, because it definitely confuses people when you say defense cap, because you can actually get crit reduction from both resilience and defense. And I run into people all the time who are like, why don't you have 540 defense in your sets? Are you just like okay with being crit or what?
Yeah.
And the reality is like, basically no pally is ever going to run 540 defense because we always use a shoulder enchant that gives us 15 resilience.
We do?
So
Yeah, tell me about this.
Yep.
okay, yeah. So
You're gonna have to PvP for it, Mel.
yeah. So it's from PvP, but it's very easy to get. If all you do is PvE, you can even just turn in your Stonekeeper shards at Wintergrasp, and 30 Stonekeeper shards turns into a 2,000 honor commendation, and it's bind on account. So you can send it from one character to another. Easy peasy. Yeah. But yeah, the 30 stam 15 resil shoulder enchant is just standard for tanks. So you're going to be using that. So with that, you only need 536 defense to get to crit cap, which is that's pretty much the standard. Most prop allies are going to be going 536 defense and then have the 15 resil shoulder enchant to get them to crit cap. The main number you're actually looking to hit is 5.6% reduced chance to be crit for raid bosses who are considered to be 3 levels above you. The caps change based on the level of the mob you're fighting, but it'll be 5.6% reduced chance to be crit for bosses. And then if you're doing heroics, the bosses are going to be 2 levels above you. So you're going to be looking for 5.4%. And
is there an easy way for new people? Is there like a week or something, like an easy way for new people to like, because just to like let anybody know who's new to taking, when you get defense on your gear, that's not your defense stat. That is just your defense rating, and your stat is separate from that, and it's going to be a lower number than your rating. So you want your stat to be 540. And not just the sum of all your defense on your gear added up, if that makes sense.
So there are plenty of weakors for that, and I definitely recommend them. You can look at like Tankadin or Tank Stats. Those are like 2 different ones you can use. I think I have links to them in my Discord as well. But that's like the easiest way. Otherwise, just open up your character sheet, and you can do the drop down menu, look at your defense window, and just hover over the defense stat there, and it'll say like you have this much reduced chance to be crit. Then just hover over your resilience, and it'll tell you how much reduced chance you have to be crit. Add those 2 numbers together. You want them to total 5.4 if you're doing just heroics, or 5.6 if you're doing raids.
You could probably get away with heroics if you have a good enough healer.
Oh, 100%. We were taking really heroics with, and like a lot of because we coming from the Sunwell gear, we didn't have a lot of high defense stuff, so we were probably doing it like 460 to 480 for heroics even.
So is defense the first thing you should go for, like before you go for standard expertise?
It's the most important thing you always want to have.
Crit cap's the first thing. You get just the most value as a tank from getting that, getting crit cap first. Yeah. Okay. When I first started doing heroics, like, day 1 or day 2, whatever it was of Wrath, I was like 1.5% critable though. Like you can definitely do them while you're critable, but try to get crit cap as quick as you can.
It had a few sketchy moments in those heroics. It was really
just went a little bit slower because there was the risk of taking double damage at any time. But
I definitely healed Mel through a lot of heard about 510 or 490 to 510. And you definitely noticed a difference when we went in there and she actually had the 540. I was like, oh, okay, this is like, now I can actually DPS and stuff.
Yeah. So for heroics, you're just looking at, if you have that shoulder enchant I talked about, you just need 531. If you're doing raids, 536. But yeah, basically you're just adding 5 defense if you want to look at it that way, or 0.2% reduced chance to be crit for each like level the mob has over you. Starting at like 5% for them being the same level as you.
Awesome. And then
like hit and expertise, those would be the other caps to talk about. So expertise is really, really valuable because you're double dipping on it because it will reduce dodge and parry chance. And if a mob's 3 levels higher than you, which is like a boss mob basically, they're gonna also have a 14% chance to parry you in addition to 6.5% chance to dodge you. At 26 expertise, that's total expertise, not expertise rating. That's what we call soft cap. That's when you've pushed the dodges off the table.
It's basically 6.25%. It's what I have on my prot warrior too.
Yeah, it's just 26 expertise, like actual expertise skill. And after that point, expertise has half value because you're only going towards that parry chance now. So hitting that soft cap, that 26, is really, really important. Crit cap first, of course, but yeah, your damage and threat will just skyrocket if you have that soft cap. And then after that, you can go for physical hit cap, which is 8% against bosses. And for lower level things, it's just 1% per level. So if it's the same level as you, 5%, then 1 level higher, 6%, etc.
Question for you: you really only need 5%, right? Because you're most likely going to have improved fairy fire, right?
That only applies to spells, not physical attacks.
That's what the tooltip says, but I don't think the tool, like, is there something else that gives you actual physical hit? Because I know for sure I have it.
Drain Eye for Alliance.
Drain Eye is only 1% though, but like,
yeah.
There is no melee hit in the game anymore. Melee just have to have their hit cap.
That's what everybody tells me, but I just don't. I think the tooltip's wrong. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I mean, it could be bugged. I don't know. Might be worth looking into.
But okay,
not on your warrior though, because they'll fix it if you figure it out on your warrior.
Only check it on Prop Valley.
Yeah, the hit on the warrior, like I could be wrong, but expertise is the most important after defense. Also for the prop warrior, I'm pretty sure, and hit's kind of down there, like because you have the fast weapon, which makes hit even less worthwhile. So like really, expertise is the most important thing too.
So expertise will help with threat too, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, because it reduces your chance to be dodged and parried. So, you know, your attacks that wouldn't have landed, they land, do a lot of threat. So, it's also just nice for variance. So like you may get lucky on some pulls, you don't like get dodges or parries right off the bat, but those pulls where you start the fight with like a shield block dodge or a shield slam dodge feels bad, or a shield of righteousness dodge.
Yep. Definitely feel that.
Oh yeah, Shaka Zulu in chat points out a good point. Warriors have heroic strike, which is the biggest thing that devalues hit compared to prop pallies. So you know, heroic strike and cleave work the same way. It's a guaranteed hit when you hit it.
Okay.
I was gonna say I don't know what that is.
No, actually,
I didn't realize it was a guaranteed hit either. Yeah.
Okay,
I thought it was just
now that I'm going to say, I know it's a guaranteed hit for your offhand. Now I'm like questioning if it's no, it is. Yeah. Okay, it's a guaranteed hit for your main hand also because it's an actual move. No, that's wrong. No. I don't know. Now I'm second guessing. I don't want to put that out there. I know it was a guaranteed hit for your offhand, regardless of hit. At least
that
in
was
TBC
with dual wield, because like dual wield increases your chance to miss by a lot, and you were going off the single wield attack table basically when you heroic striked. That was like the significant part of it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It only has 100% chance to hit if you're at 8% hit. Okay, but still, you're doing a ton of them. I think is the biggest thing. Sorry. Tangent.
Okay, so defense, then expertise, then hit.
Yeah. I mean, you don't necessarily need to get the expertise in hit. It really depends on like what your survivability needs are.
Yeah,
Like your number one job is just living, right, as a tank. So getting like expertise and hit, those come once you're at the point where you have no issues surviving. If you're having issues surviving, definitely just pick up stam in place of that expertise and hit if you're able to.
Okay.
Okay, and then I'm gonna switch up spots here real quick because this like makes more sense to talk about right after what we just talked about. But oh no, I already switched it. What's the stat priorities for Pallies? Like your most important stats after you've hit. This is very important, guys. After you've hit caps.
It really depends on what you're fighting, how you're going to gear, and like what your goals are. Like if you're in a speedrunning guild, you're going to gear very, very differently than if you're in like a parsing guild or just, a more casual guild that isn't really pushing times and stuff.
Well, let's go for more like, because this is 101 beginner's guide. So let's go with like what,
Stam and everything. I'd say.
The best idea for like
stam
anybody.
Gems all around your gear.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and then whatever gems you need, I think for the meta, I think you need I think you just need 2 blue for the stam meta. I don't remember.
I think it's 1 yellow also, but
okay,
like throw an enduring or vivid in there.
Yeah.
You always want to start as tanky as possible, and then if you're in a consistent group and like what healers you're gonna have week to week, you get a feel for them and like you understand like your survivability in your like specific raid context. Then you can start to like use some strength gems or whatever you want to do, some different enchants, things like that. But you always want to start as tanky as possible. Your number one job is living, and then you get to play around with other things after that. But if you're like pugging and stuff, I would definitely just go like full stam because you don't know what healers you're gonna have week to week. You don't know what your survivability situation is gonna be like.
Okay, yeah, I think that's pretty much. Yeah, I think that's pretty much across the board for most tanks is like stamina until you know that you're fine. You know that you're not gonna go down during a boss. And there's some bosses, stamina is more important. Like I use Dark Moon card greatness now on my warrior, but I don't on Patchwork, right? I don't on Menexida,
So, actually, you probably could use it on Patchwork. So the thing about Patchwork is if you're main tanking it, you don't actually take that much damage.
Yeah, but like it's just like why not? Like
yeah, true. Why not?
Like depending on the raid you're in, yeah, I could probably push it, but like
yeah.
Do I want to be the reason we don't get it done? And like, my Exida, just like if somebody screws up and doesn't hit me with a cooldown before the stun, like having that extra stamina can be really nice and just barely save your life, right? Type of deal.
A question though, if
sure.
I were to get into a pug, how much stamina, like base stamina, would be like a good amount to have before going? Because you can gem and you can do all this, but if you don't have the right gear, right? Like what's the number of base stamina that would be helpful?
Well, I'd go more HP than like actual stam stat, but like 26K or 27K plus is like probably when I would feel good about like starting to pug like 25 man. For 10 man, I don't know, maybe like 24, 25K. 10 man does way less damage.
Oh, 10 man does no damage. It's pretty easy.
If you can get closer to 30K though, that would be great. But I'd say like 27K is a good unbuffed number to aim for.
That's what I'm sitting at is 30. And I'm just like, every time I get over 30, I'm like, maybe I could put a strength gem in. Okay, so, but the stat priority though, kind of didn't like as far as like
it really varies is kind of the thing. If you're going for like pure damage, like you want to get that expertise soft cap first, then that physical hit cap, and then strength after that, and then block value is great as well. It'll increase the damage of your Shield of Righteousness, but also it lets you gear a little bit more offensively as well, because like a lot of things don't do much damage right now. So block value reduces the damage by a really, really high % of the damage you're actually taking. And a lot of things you can actually full block. My pally right now, like fully raid buffed with like a Dark Mooncar Greatness proc up, I have like 3,200 block value. It's like I take like
about
very
the
little
same.
damage.
It's basically full. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so then explain like how strength goes into block value for prop paladins.
Yeah, sure. So every 2 strength is 1 block value, but then you have strength multipliers. You have a talent, gives you 15% more. You have Blessing of Sanct, gives you 10% more. And then any block value you get 30% more. So it ends up actually being pretty crazy. It ends up being like 1 to 8 point or 0.83 ratio, I think, strength to block value once you put in all those multipliers. Nice. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. And then strength also gives you 2 attack power per, and that strength is also going through those multipliers again. And then in raid, you also get 10% more attack power. So it's like going through 3 multipliers right there on attack power as well. And then 60% of your strength, which has gone through 2 multipliers, goes to your spell power. So it's just like multiplier city. You're like,
right,
you get so much value out of strength. It's actually crazy.
It's good. It does a lot. There's a lot of other things happening behind the scenes. So you definitely want strength over attack power, and you definitely want strength over okay.
And
if you're choosing offensive, it affects basically every ability we have now. They changed like all our spell scaling. We used to scale like basically just with spell power, but they changed everything. So I think every single thing we have now scales with attack power in some capacity. And then a lot of our stuff scales with spell power as well, but attack power will affect like everything. But you really want that strength because you get that double dip and you get those 2 extra multipliers. So that's why strength is so good, because it's just crazy multipliers. It affects attack power and spell power, and a lot of abilities scale with both attack power and spell power. So you're just getting like huge value from strength. But again, that's if you're going for damage. But kind of the priority there would be strength and then attack power, and then spell power is like quite a ways back from both of those.
Awesome.
Nothing
yeah,
else.
I think a lot of people might, if they haven't looked into it, might still be thinking that spell power is a really strong stat for pallies, and that was just kind of what I wanted to kind of debunk here, because I was guilty of that when I bought Mel flasks when we were leveling up. I bought her spell power flasks, and Chad was like, "What are you doing, doofus?" And I was like, "Is that not the right thing to do?" They're like, "No, get her attack power." I was like, "Oh, okay, my bad."
Yeah, actually, the strength elixir, the 50 strength elixir, I like that one a lot, because then you can also use a guardian elixir with it, and like specifically Gift of Arthas is really awesome. It'll increase the DPS of like a lot of your fellow raid members. It's not a
bad idea to start doing that.
Nice.
Wait, what is Gift of Arthas?
So when you take a hit, there's a 30% chance it'll put a debuff that lasts 3 minutes on the target, and it increases their physical damage taken by 8. And when you've got like rogues and warriors and death knights especially, when I simmed it for unholy DK and like full bis, it was like almost 100 DPS increase like per unholy DK. So
yeah, that's substantial.
It's pretty nutty. Yeah. And then it also
is it a talent you get as a prop ally?
No, it's
an elixir. Yeah, it's a guardian elixir. And also each time it procs, you gain threat as well. It's been a long time since I looked into the exact threat number. I think it's around 130 threat per proc. So, I mean, it's not nearly as much now. In TBC, it was a little more impactful, but definitely for that like damage debuff, it's pretty nuts.
And just say that name again, because I'm sure people are trying to frantically rewind the podcast right now.
Yeah, sure. It's just Gift of Arthas. It's actually a vanilla consume, but it's kind of stayed relevant till now still.
Okay, cool.
There we go.
Cool. All right, so what's a good like single target rotation? You're going into a boss.
Well, hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
So other stats, like what does agility do for prot pallies? Like, does it do anything?
Yeah, agility is pretty good. It gives you armor, it gives you dodge, it gives you crit. So I mean, it's a pretty solid stat. Yeah. In general, you're not really gonna have options to go for it too often, just based on how gear is like put together. But I mean, it's a solid stat when you get it. Like when you get, the shaman totem that gives you agi and strength, like that's pretty awesome. You're just getting like around 200 agi for free.
All right. Okay, that was all. Sorry.
Cool. All right. So I've got the best ways to get snap threat and maintain threat, but I want those just to kind of go into the two questions I'm about to ask about single target and AoE target. So what's a good single target rotation when going in, like on a boss, like to get snap threat fast and then to keep threat going?
Yeah, so the prop value rotation, people usually call it the 969 rotation. That's just based on like the cooldowns of like your different rotation spells, how you like weave them together. Your goal is to like have something to press every global cooldown, basically. So the way you order those abilities will allow that to happen, basically. So you can actually, it's also sort of a confusing name because the things we're calling the nines are actually 8-second cooldowns, but you use them every 9 seconds outside of Bloodlust. Bloodlust reduces your global cooldown, so you get to use a few more spells. But yeah, you're basically just going from a 9 to a 6 to a 9 to a 6 just over and over again, or 6 to 9, 6 to 9. And your decision on like if you want to start with a 6 or a 9, it kind of just depends on how much snap threat you need. If you need more threat right on the pull, then you're going to want to start with a 6. That's going to do more damage, more threat. If your threat on the pull isn't a big deal, you can start with Judgment, which is going to put up a bunch of buffs and debuffs. It'll do a little bit of damage, but not as much as one of the 6s. The 6s are Hammer of the Righteous and Shield of Righteousness. So I don't have issues with threat on the pull. So I pretty much always start with Judgment first, get the buffs and debuffs rolling, and then I move into a 6. So I'm just going 9, 6, 9, 6, 9 over and over and over again.
What are some of the 9s? Because you named some of the 6s.
Sure. So the 9s, it's Judgment, Holy Shield, and Consecration. Those are the 3.
Okay. And then there's only 2 6s?
Only 2 6s. And so you're just weaving all of those together. Hammer of Wrath actually just got buffed, and it's like a 6 you can also use, but only below 20% HP. So I guess I shouldn't say buffed. It actually just got fixed. It was going based off ranged attack power before.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Prop allies have like almost none of. Yeah. And it's now going off melee attack power, which we have a lot of. So the damage went through the roof on that. It also procs your seal as well. So it's really strong now. But in general, for the most part, on a boss, you're just weaving the 2 6s and the 3 9s together so that you're never not pressing something, basically. And before you pull anything, you always want to make sure your Divine Plea is on you before the pull. You Holy Shield before the pull, so you don't have to use a global cooldown on that. You go into the fight with Holy Shield ready to go on you already. And then I have a macro, I call it the big thread opener, and basically it's going to pop Avenging Wrath, and then if you're using like an unused trinket that increases attack power or something, it'll pop that as well.
Avenging Wrath, is that the wings?
Yeah, that's wings. It just increases. increases damage by 20%.
Okay.
And healing, more relevant for soloing, but for raids, mostly you care about the damage part. So then basically the macro, it's going to cast Exorcism, and Exorcism is 100% crit chance on undead. We're fighting a lot of undead right now, so that's pretty huge for threat. And then there's going to be an Avenger's Shield and a Hand of Reckoning, which is our taunt ability. But if the mob isn't targeting us, it does damage also. So if you spam this macro...
I have questions about this.
Yeah. No worries.
So the taunt that is like, you have to target a player and not the mob, right? What is that?
That's a Righteous Defense.
Oh, okay. We're not there yet. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah. Hand of Reckoning is the single target taunt. Okay. But if they aren't targeting you and they're tauntable, it will do holy damage. So we want to start boss pulls with that. Most bosses are tauntable, not all of them are. So you'll be able to get some free damage for that. But since we're exorcisming before that, you have to really be spamming the macro. Otherwise, they'll target you before you do the Hand of Reckoning, and then you won't get the damage from it. So it's really important to spam the macro to make sure you get that damage.
Okay, Fab, I have a question about this specifically.
Yep.
Do you do that on a boss pull as an off tank? Because it is kind of annoying for me as a main tank when a paladin does that right off the bat, because it like screws me getting hit like right off the bat.
Yeah, so as an off tank, no, I don't on most fights, because I don't want to taunt off the other tank usually. Okay, especially on like patchwork or something.
I just wanted to clear that part up just to make sure.
Yeah, I'll use Exorcism, Avenger's Shield, but I'll just skip the taunt usually. The way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. I definitely wouldn't do it as an off tank. So you're gonna get that Exo out, and then the Hand of Reckoning. It's off the global cooldown, so that's why this works. And Exo is a 1.5 second cast, so there's like no GCD issues with this. And
why
after
is it off the global cooldown?
Why is it off? It's just coded that way.
Yeah, just some moves aren't on the global.
Yeah.
You guys, I'm not used to this whole like I watch these like global cooldowns. Like this is not a thing with Priest, I feel like.
Yeah, see, like for
something for everybody, but I don't know. Maybe it doesn't impact.
I mean, it might be just one of those things you're so used to you don't think about. If you don't have an ability off the global cooldown, maybe you don't think about it.
I mean, lots of us macro them in.
It seems like it's so long on my pally, I feel like. And on my Priest, I feel like I understand like the different.
I think Priest doesn't have a lot, right?
It goes down with spell haze. Maybe there's a talent. I don't really know much about Priest. There might be something that reduces it for you.
Yeah, Priest like moves like, for instance, you're for sure
shields on a global cooldown. I know that.
Yeah, but like say like you would have different things, like things that aren't on global cooldowns are great to macro in. Like for on my warrior, I have 2 revenges. One of them has cleave macroed in. One of them has heroic strike macroed in. I'm never running out of rage, so I never want to just hit heroic strike or just hit revenge.
I did the same thing on my druid. I basically macroed a maul to every button.
Yeah, and I mean it just makes sense. And then for priest, there's like, what's the thing where your next spell cast is instant? Like you could have a completely different spell, macroed over there to like pop that first because that's not on the global cooldown, and then pop your heal that is on the global cooldown. And it would pop it at the same time without multiple presses of the button.
Yeah, I have inner focus macroed, but yeah, I don't know. It just seems weird. I was just curious.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. They changed a lot of things in Wrath to be off global cooldown. So that was a pretty significant change. Like I feel like on my warrior, anytime I press anything, half of my bar like is off GCD. So
do you use exorcism even if you're not fighting undead?
Because like on a boss pull, it's just free damage because like you haven't even engaged the boss yet, and it's just gonna give you more threat on the pull. That's really like the only time you use it though. Occasionally
like
for like
leave it in
an air
rotation.
phase kind of thing, like you might use it.
I have used it there, yeah, where I can't hit him with anything else.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
first boss in UP, like when she like flies in the air, like throw out exos. You know,
Saffron.
I'm doing my part.
Yeah. You're welcome.
That's where I'm shooting my bow as a rogue.
Yeah. So let's see, where were we at on the rotation? So on that pull macro, basically it's gonna wings, pop any like unused trinket you have, and then you do the exo into the Hand of Reckoning into Avenger Shield. So you're gonna be hitting the boss with 3 things like at 0 seconds into the fight, which is awesome. That's huge threat. So that's why I'm usually able to get away with using Judgment as my first ability, get those debuffs up right away, because I've already done a ton of threat like before the boss even got pulled, essentially, or on the pull. So yeah, that's kind of the key. Like if you're pulling like a raid boss, make sure you have Divine Plea up, make sure you have Holy Shield up, use your pre-pot, pop, just spam that opener macro. You just got to press that one button over and over again. It's going to do all that stuff for you, and you're going to start the fight really, really strong.
Awesome.
This is what I've been missing, my one button macro. See, Bob?
Exactly.
It's not exactly the Ret Paladin one button macro, but it's an opener one button macro.
I don't know if that actually became a thing that people are using. I think I remember seeing that it was actually less optimal than just playing normally.
I don't think it's good. Yeah.
I mean, if you're new, it probably works fine.
I'm pretty sure.
I know Scotty J tested it, and it was pretty close, but he was also like, I don't really play Ret, so someone who's really good at Ret
also wouldn't be fun.
So I frequently forget to change my... Okay, I'm brand new, okay? Don't judge. But like Seal of Vengeance and Seal of Command, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you hit on it earlier, but Seal of Vengeance you want for like bosses and single target, and then Seal of Command for everything else?
Yeah, Seal of Vengeance is for bosses or cleave situations where the mobs are going to live a really long time. I think it's like over 2 minutes, so you're like never in that situation right now. Mm-hmm. Seal of Command, though, like basically anytime there's more than one mob, you're throwing that on. So make sure you have those 2 bound to like good keys so you can be swapping them pretty often. It just takes some time to learn. Eventually you'll get to the point where like you see one mob, you just out of habit press Seal of Vengeance if it's not already on, and then you see multiple mobs, you're using Command if it's not already on.
Yeah, I think one of the issues I run into with swapping is I don't notice, because I'll go into trash with Seal of Righteous up and my threat's still fine on all the trash, so I just don't notice as I go. So my issue.
Yeah, so part of the weakers I have, it actually just has little icons of like your active aura and seal, so that makes it easy for me. Maybe that would help you too.
Yeah, probably.
All right,
There's definitely a lot of weak auras I could get
for everything.
So
yeah.
What about AoE groups?
Yeah, AoE kind of varies a bit. Right now we're fighting a lot of undead, so as you're like going into an AoE pack, you can throw your Avenger Shield out. That'll hit 3 of them, and then as you play Prop Hell, you'll kind of learn like where your shield's gonna be bouncing to. And I would target something else.
It is a definite like weird thing though, right? Because I feel like there's times where I shoot it at something and I think it's going to go to the other thing, and it doesn't.
Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah,
it's a weird ability.
Okay, I didn't know if I was doing something wrong or like if there was like a certain amount of distance.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it tries to go the closest target. But there's also like a max range on how far it'll bounce, so you gotta kind of learn to play around that. But when you're about to go into an AoE pack, you're gonna follow like the same pre-pull like principles. Like make sure you got that Divine Plea up, make sure you got that Holy Shield up just going in, so you're just starting ahead. Otherwise you're like already behind GCDs before you've even pulled. So going in, throw Avenger Shield, that'll hit 3 things, and then you can throw your Hand of Reckoning taunt for that damage on a 4th thing that you don't think your Avenger Shield's gonna hit, or if it's a 3-pack, you can just throw it on one of the things Avenger Shield's gonna hit. More threat, more damage. And then you can also possibly like throw a NG bomb like at that same time off global cooldown for more threat. And the NG bombs are really cheap. I recommend just having a ton of them, just popping them like crazy. And then as you go into the pack, if everything's grouped up pretty well, like when you get into melee range and they're mostly undead, you can throw out Holy Wrath at that point. If they're not undead, your Holy Wrath won't do any damage, so not worth using.
At all?
It won't do any damage at all. I know the tooltip's really confusing. It trips up a lot of people. A lot of people think it'll do damage to everything, but won't stun anything that's not undead. It actually just won't do anything if they aren't undead. So, yeah, you're just like whiffing it, basically.
Do you macro bombs and sappers into any specific moves? Because I macro them into my cleave, revenge macro, just because I know I'll be doing AoE at that point. So I just have them there.
No, I like to just have full control of it, have bombs on a separate button, because like sometimes like you're on the trash pack right before a boss, like you want the bomb for the cleave boss or whatever, and you don't want to like put your bombs on cooldown right before you're
I just don't cleave at that point. Like luckily as the main tank, like, you know, like I'm not always, and as a warrior, I'm not always taking the aggro of everything. So I'll literally just be like, okay, well, don't use cleave here. We're just gonna try to not use cleave here.
No, yeah, I mean,
so I just basically tab heroic strike revenge instead. But yeah,
I personally, I wouldn't want to limit like what abilities I can use, like on different packs, just because I have like a bomb macroed onto it. But
yeah,
I like to just have it as a separate thing. But so we talked about Holy Wrath, and after that, like Hammer of the Righteous, it's gonna, if you have it glyphed, it's gonna hit 4 targets, does a lot of damage, big threat, and each one will proc your seal too, each hit of the Hammer of the Righteous. So you'll have command on for AoE packs, as we talked about. Spell,
by the way, Hammer of the Righteous.
It's really fun.
It's real satisfying. You smack him and you just hear this dong.
Yeah, sound. I don't know why I like get really upset when it's not up. I'm like, I just wanted hammer.
Yeah, it's only gonna get more fun too, because it like scales better than like anything else we have. So the damage is gonna be crazy later on.
Good. Okay, question. Do I use, because somebody told me, I think his name was Yep, that I should use Avenger Shield on like cooldown because it stuns the mobs in certain situations? Is that right?
Silence. If you have the talent for it, it'll silence.
Oh. I don't know if I do, but
and I mean, depending on the pack, that may have 0 value or it may have a lot of value. So
okay, I'm sure it was a pack where it had value, but
okay, yeah.
I didn't know if I should do it all the time or if it was just like that specific pack.
For anybody in chat that doesn't understand if it has value or not, if they have casters, it has value.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, that out there. Some people may be like, "What do you mean?"
It always has value as just like AoE damage, though. Like regardless, but for that silence specifically, it could be like 0 or no value in that regard. So and for Hammer of the Righteous, for Seal of Command with Hammer of the Righteous, it's only going to proc the single target Seal of Command. So the way Seal of Command works, if you use a single target ability, it will proc a Seal of Command cleave that does 2 extra Seal of Command hits, which is awesome. But Hammer of the Righteous, it will do just this single target, but that's still 4 Seal of Command hits if you have the glyph and are fighting 4 mobs. So you're getting 4 hits just from Hammer of the Righteous, and then you're also getting 4 Seal of Command hits when you press it. So it's huge threat. And then for AoE packs, you want to get cons down after that. And then you're kind of just going through the whole 969 thing at that point. And AoE packs right now are lasting, like 2 seconds, so you don't really get to do too much. But
you put your consecrate.
You're doing a lot of 969.
It is actually amazing with a warrior at the moment, because I'll charge in, group up the mobs, AoE stun, and then they're just all dead before I even see if I have threat. It's just crazy.
Shockwave is awesome because
awesome.
you shockwave and it doesn't matter what your threat was. Everything's dead by the time the stun ends.
Yup, it's so good.
Man.
All right, so give us some of your oh shit buttons, which would be like your defensive cooldowns for either the raid and or you.
Okay, can I first ask a question here? Because everybody keeps telling me to bop people, and there's nothing that is the acronym for bop that I have.
Yeah, they changed it. It used to be Blessing of Protection. Now it's Hand of Protection.
Oh,
so it's hot.
I didn't even realize that. I play the Pally too. That makes sense. Yeah.
That's what I've been doing, but I'm like, I don't even know if I'm doing the right thing. They asked me to bop somebody. I'm like, well, this is the closest thing I could think is a bop.
Yeah. People just kept the same acronym.
Something actually on bopping is you can usually it depends on the fight. A lot of the fights where you're going to be bopping, if it's a target of target, you can set up a target of target macro for it. And it makes
you do have to be a little careful with that, because mobs will change targets. Maybe another Pally bopped the person before you, or aggro just changed.
It depends on the scenario.
As a prop Pally, I really recommend putting a /cancel or a Hand of Protection in like all your rotation abilities. So if that target bop does go wrong, you're just canceling it right away anyway.
Because it would put it on you if you went wrong.
Potentially. So this is a really common situation. Like somebody pulls thread off one thing, you go to target bop them. Somebody else does it first, or they use like a personal aggro drop, anything like that, and it comes back to you. And the new target bop is yourself, and so you just bopped yourself.
Yep.
So to mitigate that, though, you just put cancel or a bop on like all your things, and it's not an issue. But I mean, you do give yourself forbearance, which kind of sucks, but it's better than just sitting there with bop on you like, wait, why can't I do anything? What? Everybody's dying. What's happening?
Oh, man.
Okay. All right, Hand of Protection. We're going to change it to hop, guys.
We're going to start saying hop in raid.
Could I please get hopped? Somebody hop me?
All right, so but you've got a lot of oh shit buttons. So let's go over them.
Honestly, so the main one is Divine Protection. It used to just be a bad version of Divine Shield or like Immunity Bubble. Now it's really sick. It just reduces all damage taken by 50% for 12 seconds, or 15 if you have the tier 7 4-piece.
Now, that's the one that just does you, or does the entire raid?
That's just for you. Okay. It's just a shield wall, basically.
Dude, the hardest part about Paladin is everything has like blessing in front of it. You're like, wish you could just cut that word out.
They reduced it a little bit. Now that's only like long-term buffs. Now they made everything that used to like be a blessing. That was a short-term buff. They made it a hand now. Like the Blessing of Protection, Hand of Protection.
But it's still the same problem. Everything starts with hand. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whereas rogue, every name of your abilities are completely different, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, for Pallies, they're like categories of spells. So like you can only put one of those like categories on somebody. So like I can't give everybody like every single blessing. I can only give one. I can't give somebody like multiple hand spells. I can only give them one. So it just breaks it down into a category, basically.
I guess if you play it for long enough, it starts to make sense. But someone new coming in is like, I've got all these things that sound so similar.
Then it's very overwhelming, like the number of different spells you have. And then there's just a lot that you don't really ever use. Right?
It depends. I mean,
I don't know, maybe only a couple things I don't use too often, but for the most part, like we just have a crazy like kit, and there's situations for like everything. It's kind of insane. But yeah, so that's like kind of the main one, and it's off global cooldown, which is awesome. And then we have like a raid sack too, and this one's really cool because it's a talent, divine sacrifice, and it's really similar to our hand of sacrifice spell, where damage taken by other people gets transferred to us, so you can reduce the damage taken by your other raid and party members. And so it has that damage transfer part, but then there's a talent Divine Guardian right below it that makes it also reduce damage taken by 20% for 6 seconds. And you can use this as like a personal cooldown sometimes, but generally you're using it to reduce the damage of your whole raid. And you can actually do a /cancel aura divine sacrifice macro to get rid of the damage transfer part, but it'll keep that 20% reduction buff on everybody else.
That's interesting.
So on my divine sacrifice, I have /cast divine sacrifice /cancel aura divine sacrifice. So if I press it once, it keeps on the damage transfer, and of course you have the reduced damage taken as well. If I press it twice, it gets rid of the damage transfer. Since as a tank, you don't always want to be transferring damage from other people to yourself. It might be too bursty, but currently not a lot of damage is going on. And especially like heroics, like I'd say the majority of the time I'm actually leaving the damage transfer on right now. That will change later on.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't know that you could actually cancel or that. That's good to
awesome.
know. Yeah. That's basically saying you have a extra 20% cooldown.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just
really
to make
every 2 minutes too, which is good.
Cooldown reduce whole raid's damage by 20%. It's really, really good.
Yeah, because for anybody that doesn't know, Holy Paladins will do a thing where they will do that and then bubble. So they're not taking any of the damage transfer.
Sacrifice. Yeah.
Cool.
They generally combo with hand of sacrifice. They put hand of sac on a tank, but they'll also be using that cancel aura macro as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's a really cool one. And let's see, kind of a fringe one. Yeah, lay on hands is nice, but you don't really use it on yourself anymore because it puts forbearance on you when you use it on yourself. And generally you want your forbearance for the divine protection. So usually you're looking to use lay on hands on other people. It will also restore mana. So if somebody's out of mana, you can actually just use it as a mana restorer as well.
Oh, really? For somebody else?
Yeah. I can't remember the exact amount. I think he gives them around 2k mana when
says, like 1950.
Right.
You know?
Do you ever use what's it called anymore? Oh my god,
divine shield.
No,
or
I was thinking of
Hand of Salvation.
Salvation. Yeah. Do you ever use Salvation?
So I do specific cases. It seems the only case I've run into is one if you're under geared and you're playing with DPS or more geared, you're probably going to want to use it. But with our case, with having a cat druid who bear weaves at the beginning of the fight, sometimes the threat gets a bit sketchy. So I use Hand of Salve.
What does Hand of Salve do?
Basically reduces the threat. I think it's 2% every second for 10 seconds.
I wonder if someone could use that on my combat rogue, because like literally it's just crazy for me to tricks a DPS at the pole. Because like if you'll watch any poll we do with a combat rogue,
you're jumping way up right off the bat. You're jumping way up and so you're just giving the tank that threat, but you could give it to somebody else if somebody were to. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, no, Hand of Salve would definitely help with that.
That would be huge for that.
Yeah, Hand of Salve is fantastic. That's actually something I'm trying to improve on a lot, is using that a lot more. Because like Prop Pally is GCD locked like all the time, so you have to make sacrifices anytime you actually want to do something like that. So that's something I'm trying to like work on in my game personally, is using that a lot more. And you can also
that's what Yip says. He's like, when somebody asks me to spell or do something, he's like, ruins my whole rotation I've got going on here.
Yeah, you can also use it like pre-pull. So like
that's I think what I tended to do
right before you're like going into an AoE pack or something. Just you can like throw it on Boomkin or something like preemptively.
Okay, cool.
Also, while we're on the topic of like save your ass kind of cooldowns, this will come into play in Ulduar. Nobody's really doing this right now because it isn't needed, but there's also a glyph for salve that reduces your damage taken by 20% when you use it on yourself. So in Ulduar, this is going to be used a lot because we're going to be taking a lot more damage, and you will be reducing your threat. So you have to be aware of that, but tank threat is so high that once you get, like 20 seconds into a pull, like even with a salve on you, nobody should be pulling off of you. So at that point, you can just use it as a damage reduction cooldown, 20% reduced damage. And if you want to, you can even click that salve off. Like if you are just trying to use it to make it through like some big damage ability and that ability is over and there are like some sort of threat concerns, you could just click that salve off and you benefited from that damage reduction, got the salve off. Threat part wasn't an issue if it was for some reason. So that's a cool one. We'll be using a bit in Ulduar, I think.
Yeah, I remember seeing that glyph.
Okay.
One like kind of fringe one. It comes more into play in like soloing and things, but the nitro boots from engineering, they can be used defensively. If you rocket boot away, then you just don't take melee damage anymore. Yeah. So you can use that as a defensive tool sometimes.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so we don't have a ton of time left. We all have to get to raid in 30 minutes, so I don't want to do too much.
I mean, we didn't talk about the main Pally defensive, which is basically you get a second life.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's automatic, so I guess, but go ahead.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. It kind of just happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ardent Defender, when you take a killing blow, you actually just get healed. It's kind of insane. It's like so overpowered. Like to give that to a tank is like, you know what? You died, but we're gonna reward you for that. Here's a heal, and the heal can crit. The heal can crit too.
Oh, it can.
Really?
I didn't know that. I didn't know it could crit too.
Yeah, sometimes you just go up to like 50-60%. It's insane.
Oh, I haven't procced it enough that many times, so I just don't remember that happening.
It says the amount of heals is based on your defense.
It is, yeah. So if you're at a high amount of defense, like the 536 we talked about for crit capping with the Resil enchant, then you're going to be healing for basically the full amount, pretty close. But if you don't have much defense at all, I mean, if you don't have like any defense gear, you're just gonna like die. Like it's just gonna kind of kill you. So they did that to make it like not good in PvP basically, because in PvP you're gonna be wearing like all resilience gear, like no defense. So they did that to make it really, really bad for
that makes sense.
Basically,
it makes sense. It would have been otherwise kind of nuts to have in PvP.
And it can only happen once every 2 minutes, everybody. So it's not like you just every 2 minutes live.
But I mean, 2 minutes is pretty short for being allowed to just die as a tank. So
for a deal with any mechanic button, basically.
Also, it reduces damage you take below 35% by 20% too. Yeah. So it has like that insane component too. So like this comes into play when I'm soloing a lot. I just like chill in that like under 35% HP range, and I'm taking 20% reduced damage, and it's like it's awesome because like your HP might be going down pretty quickly, but once you hit that 35%, it like really slows down, and it gets you can kind of get into this zone where like you just aren't killable anymore, where you previously were at higher HP.
Yeah, like you throw in things like Essence of Gossamer and things of that nature, and then like all of a sudden you're just like literally not taking damage on like lower level soloing stuff.
Yeah. And I mean we're like a block tank too, so like getting that reduced damage, like that further increases the value of your block value to like get you to that point where you're full blocking things, and it's just crazy.
So if, say I was at like 1k health and I took like a 5k hit, I would survive, but would I still take the rest of that 5k hit?
No, because it'd be overkill, right?
Yeah, it would just like proc AD and heal you, basically.
Okay, so it's not like if I took like this huge hit, it would like proc and heal me and then just still kill me because of the extra damage?
No, because the proc happens after you supposedly died. So overkill hit would hit. Yeah.
I don't ever notice this happening to me.
Yeah, in the logs you can actually see like the procs pretty easily because it'll say like Ardent Defender absorbed like 25,000 damage or something like that.
Also, if you don't die a lot, then you won't see it much.
Yep. You die like because you got a good healer.
Pretty tough to die. So
I mean, the only fight that I think we've normally seen on is if we've ever hit 10 stacks on Gluth, it might pop up.
Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dude,
I popped on Patchwork a few times.
I hit 12 one time because our pug tank didn't understand English, and so he was back with the zombie chow and not up with me, and I survived until the very last 1%.
Close.
All that matters.
All right, so
I mean, that just shows you how weak the bosses hit that you can go without healing for that long.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I used all of my cooldowns, and everybody else used all theirs on me too. But okay, so the last thing I really have a question about is, you solo stuff a lot, and this I think comes into play a lot in soloing things. I see Pally's tanks always able to like swap between self-healing or self-mana regen. Can you kind of explain how that works?
Yeah, sure. So Pallies have a bunch of ways to get mana. We talked about Blessing of Sank earlier. When you avoid, you just get mana back. We talked about Divine Plea earlier. You just are passively regenerating that mana all the time if you're keeping it up, which you should be. And then if you want to, you can swap to Seal of Wisdom. If you're like totally you can swap to Seal of Wisdom. Get your mana back that way. That's just a proc that gives you mana back every time you hit, basically. And then for healing, the mana part usually isn't too big of a deal when I'm soloing, but definitely the healing part, that's like where a lot of the skill comes into play, is like managing whether you're using a DPS seal or a Seal of Light, the healing seal. And Seal of Light actually scales with attack power and spell power. So it gets better, like, both of those are affected by strength. So you have more strength, you get more Seal of Light healing, like a lot more. So also Judgment of Wisdom, you can throw that on too. When I'm soloing, generally that's just if I'm taking like no damage at all, I have Judgment of Wisdom up. Typically though, Judgment of Light is what I have up. So you heal for 2% of your max HP when you attack the target. And
you can use Judgment of Wisdom or Judgment of Light, even if you're using like Seal of Vengeance or Seal of Command.
Yeah, it kind of changed how they worked. So in TBC, like the judging would like release your seal and you'd have to like re-put on your seal. Now like kind of separate. It's actually kind of confusing because like when you judgment, there's actually like two judgments happening. There's like the judgment debuff, like light or wisdom, but then there's also damage based on what seal you have. So when you have like Seal of Vengeance on, you're actually doing Judgment of Vengeance and you're doing Judgment of Light, for example, at the same time. But one is the damage component, one is the debuff component. So Judgment of Light, that's pretty huge for soloing. I pretty much always have that on. And then I'm kind of weaving between Seal of Vengeance or Seal of Command and Seal of Light based on like how much healing I need. And I actually use Ardent Defender a lot when I'm soloing because it allows me to go really aggressive. Like I can just leave Seal of Vengeance on because I know when I die, I'm just going to get healed. So it lets me go more aggro for a while. And then once that Ardent Defender has been procced, then I have to play a little more carefully, use more Seal of Light to make sure I don't actually die. Yeah, so we have a bunch of different ways to heal, and they scale really, really well. And then lots of ways to get mana too. It's crazy. This class is insane, actually.
It's pretty crazy, yeah. I'm looking forward to having even more gear eventually in Old War and beyond. It's gonna be fun,
dude. And 252 Old War gear, like we're gonna be able to solo like almost anything. I think.
I mean, even doing with like. I've tried soloing for the Wrath things I was mentioning earlier. I tried the Guard Pinnacle thing, and I didn't really do a very good job with it. I'm sure if I went back now and basically full BIS, I'd be able to do it. But like, I'm just imagining doing that in the full gear. It's like, yeah, it's gonna be easy. Just run in there.
It'll be really easy. Yep. Just as each phase goes on, all this solo stuff is just gonna become like exponentially easier.
And so I think, especially some of the tier sets for Prot Pally becomes nuts. It's like what one of them gives you like another 500 block value. I think it's the Old War one.
Yeah,
and that's huge.
That's gonna be crazy for soloing.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Well,
we did have a question in chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that.
So they said for gearing, they're seeing a lot of tanks running Deadly Glad 2 set for the resilience bonus. It lets you stack more stam and strength. And they were wondering how viable that is given the content being so easy right now.
It really depends on your raid. If you're gonna get away with that, I mean, it's probably fine. Just only doing 2Ps, that's probably fine for most people. If you're going even deeper than that and like also wearing like red gear and stuff, that's where it gets like pretty crazy. For me personally, I just use tank gear for everything, but then I'll potentially like change gems and enchants to be more defensive or more offensive depending on what I need at the time.
Main thing I swap is trinkets, and then everything else kind of stays the same.
Yeah, I use Darkmoon Card Greatness and Sphere of Red Dragon's Blood, actually. It's only from Heroic Nexus, and it actually sims better for damage than like everything else other than Greatness. So,
well, the proc rate on Argent, whatever it is, the crit AP trinket is kind of terrible.
Oh, the Mirror of Truth?
Yeah, Mirror of Truth. The proc rate is pretty terrible.
Yeah, well, the proc only procs off crits. So, like, it's a 10% proc chance off a crit. So, it's pretty hard to proc, yeah.
I'll go pick up that trinket then.
Yeah, Sphere of Red Dragon's Blood, extremely good, especially with how quick fight times are right now, because that 20-second attack power buff you get is a very significant portion of the entire fight that you're doing. Yep. So, and it's during Bloodlust, it's during Wings, it's during, Potion of Speed if you have that, it's during Hyperspeed Accelerators if you have that. So you're just getting crazy value from that and being able to choose when you get it. And then the hit is essentially just strength. You can look at it that way because you want to hit cap, and then you're most likely able to pick up strength in place of that hit that you now have from your trinket. So it ends up being just a crazy trinket. Yeah. And really easy to get.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go pick that up.
What is it again?
It's called Sphere of Red Dragon's Blood. It's from the last boss in Nexus.
Yeah, it is one of those trinkets though where you're gonna go there and all the melee are gonna want it, and they're gonna be like, "Why is a tank trying to take my DPS trinket?"
That's why you just solo it.
Yeah, there you go.
Nobody can
just solo it, then you don't have to worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, or you're the tank, so just be like, "Sorry, sucks."
Yeah, just hard res it before you go in, just like everyone else does.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Well, any last things to add? We are running real low on time. I think our raid lead's going to be like, "Why are you not in raid yet?" So I'm going to end us out unless anybody interrupts me right now. Looks like we're good. All right. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WC Reloaded. You can follow the Mash Those Buttons at the Mash Network. Sorry, I screwed that up. If you would like to send us an email, send it to wcrpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to join the MASH Discord and interact with hosts of this show or any show on the MASH network, it's mash.gg/Discord. How can you help the podcast? You can leave us reviews. You can use code RELOADED at Rested XP. You can tell your guild about us. You can post us on Reddit. You can post us in any Discord you want to. Spread the word is the best way to help us. You can also join as a Patreon. You get the episodes uncut shortly after recording. If you are a tank or a healing tier, every tier of the Patreon gets ad-free final cut of the episode. And yeah, that's patreon.com/Warcraft Reloaded. And yeah, that's the best ways to help us. Mel, where can we find you?
Find me on Twitter at Mel Overwatch, or you can find me in game on Mel Arena Benediction.
Awesome. And Fabulous. Can we find you anywhere?
Probably not. No, you'll never find me.
True.
Right, fair. Well, Subtle, we can find
welcome,
you
everyone.
many places. Where all can we find you, Subtle, and all the cool things you do?
Sure. Twitch and YouTube are kind of the main ones. And then I also have a Discord where we go really in depth on Prop Pally things if you're into that.
Yeah, I should put in there.
Yeah, for sure. So SubtleFW on Twitch and YouTube. On Twitch, I'm usually streaming like Prop Pally raids, soloing, getting really into Prot Warrior now too, trying to get my Rogue up as well. That's like historically what I played most of my time playing WoW. So
Don't
really
go back to that person. Rogue, that's just
Rogues are awesome, dude.
Rogue's so
Crazy.
good. Shadow Dance, like come on. Next week Blizzard has like the tentative plan to do Ulduar testing too. So I'm planning to stream both 10 and 25 on Prot Warrior and Prot Pally like every day that they're testing for, if that ends up actually being when they do it.
So do we have a date for that?
Yeah, so they have a
tentative
tentative plan for December 8th through 12th.
Okay.
But they said they won't know until it gets close whether or not that's actually going to happen. So temper your expectations, but hopefully we'll be testing Ulduar next week.
Oh, that's
on
That's
Thursday.
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, if you need a DPS, let me know.
I'm sure I will at some point. I'm going to be doing a million runs. So
Cool.
I'm really looking forward to it. But and then on my YouTube, I'll have tons of Ulduar content coming out soon. Right now, lots of like soloing things. If you're interested in that, soloing old TBC bosses, all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
awesome.
Oh, and you can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. You can find me on Twitch at BlazinBob. All right. Sorry to bust through that, but I mean, nobody really likes the ending there, so whatever. We went quick.
Stop before that.
All right, guys, we all have to get to raid, so yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for checking out Warcraft Reloaded podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any future content.